The area being assessed here is the shoulder, and the safe setup is to ensure that the patient needs to lie down on their back for the passive movements, and make sure that the bed is at a good height so that the practitioner isn't bending over, as this can cause pain to the back. When the patient is doing the movements stood up, that they are in a good amount of space. When resisting the movements, this needs to be done through an isometric movement. Active flexion. This is when you say to the patient to bring the hand up towards the ceiling and back down to neutral position. Passive flexion. To begin with, shuffle the client towards the edge of the couch so that one arm is off the couch. Once in this position, try to make the client relax, and this can be done, for example, by saying, take a deep breath in and out. Once patient is relaxed, then support the shoulder with one hand whilst the other hand is placed below the wrist. And from neutral position, bring the arm back towards the head and then bring the arm back to neutral position. Resisted flexion. Hold shoulder and wrist and push against the arm down towards the floor whilst the client is pushing upwards. Extension. Move hand back behind as far as you can. Passive extension. Continue to hold the client in the same position as when doing flexion. However, from neutral position, the practitioner is bringing the arm down towards the floor. Resisted extension. Client needs to push arm backwards towards practitioner hand whilst the practitioner is resisting by trying to move the arm in the opposite direction. Abduction. Move hand up to the side as far as you can. Passive abduction. Swap the hands over but continue to support both the shoulder and the wrist, and now bring the arm out away from the body and up so the arm is near the head. From this position, the practitioner now needs to bring the arm back to neutral position. Resisted abduction. Place one hand above the elbow and the other hand on the wrist and tell the patient to move the arm outwards and push upwards whilst the practitioner is resisting and trying to move the arm downwards. Adduction. Glide your hand in front of the body from neutral position. Passive adduction. The practitioner is still supporting both the shoulder and the wrist throughout these movements. And for adduction, the arm needs to be taken from neutral and brought in towards the chest. Resisted adduction. Tell the patient to push inwards towards his body and say a command such as, don't let me move you, whilst the practitioner's hands are placed on the bottom of the wrist and top of the arm, pushing against the movement. External rotation. Tuck the elbow by your side and bring the hand away from the midline. Passive external rotation. To begin with, we need to bend the elbow and support the elbow with one hand whilst the other hand is placed on the wrist, and bring the arm outwards away from the body and then bring the arm back to neutral position. Resisted external rotation. To do this, a client will need to begin by tucking the elbow into the side and start off in the position of internal rotation, and the practitioner will hold the opposite shoulder and wrist of the hand whilst the client is pushing outwards away from the body. Internal rotation only can be done with one arm, but the patient needs to bring the arm from an outward position and bring the arm towards the belly. Passive internal rotation. Keep elbow bent and support both the elbow and wrist and bring the arm from neutral position inwards and glide the arm across the body. This is the external internal rotation is through the glenohumeral joint. Resisted internal rotation. Practitioner holds the hands of the client as they are handshaking and bring the arm inwards whilst the practitioner is resisting and trying to push the arm outwards. Active horizontal adduction is where the practitioner will give commands to the client, and for this instance they would say, can you glide the arm upwards from the side of the body and bring the hand all the way to the midline as far as you can. Passive horizontal adduction, this is where the practitioner does the movement for the client and takes the full weight of the arm and bring it from the abducted position and glide the arm over the midline of the body. Resisted horizontal adduction, hold the shoulder and hand, then place the arm out to the side and tell the client to push forward so the arm's out in front of the body. Active horizontal abduction, where you bring your arm from the midline and bring the arm outwards and as far back as possible. Passive abduction, this is where the arm gets moved away from the body by the practitioner, who assists this movement by placing one hand on the elbow and another hand on the wrist and bring the arm outwards as far as where it is still comfortable for the client. And the functional test for this is the press up. Resisted abduction. This is where the practitioner holds the client's shoulder for support and the client's arm is placed out in front of the body and the client is resisting outwards, whereas the practitioner is resisting inwards, so the arm goes to an outward position. Horizontal abduction and adduction movement can also be described as doing a pec fly.